Once again, thank you so much for staying with us. To matters COVID-19 now and health, CS Mutahi Kagwe says there are people with personal interest on COVID-19 fans, and there are people politically weaponizing COVID-19 fans issue. Now, he was speaking as he met the Parliamentary Committee on Health this morning regarding the disbursements of funds to the counties for the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
Mr. Chairman, let me just start off by saying that the interest that has been expressed both by the Houses of Parliament as well as the media and the nation regarding COVID-19 is warranted and should indeed be asked. But Mr. Chairman, from our observations, I would categorize the interest, the massive interest in the COVID issue in two ways. So, Chairman, the first one is to disabuse the notion that COVID is equivalent to health money, or that COVID-19 funds are essentially health ministry money. Far, far from it. I think it is important, Mr. Chairman, for us to appreciate and to raise the following. A, the issue of the entire COVID fund, as explained by the Treasury when we were here the other day, is a general, multi-sectoral, multi-ministry fund. Because, Mr. Chairman, I think it is important, and I don't know why we are not raising these issues in the media and elsewhere, to note that, for example, the money being spent on a weekly basis to informal, particularly informal settlements, the cash disbursements, that is part of COVID fund. Mr. Chairman, there are roads being built towards, again, informal settlements. That is part of COVID fund. Mr. Chairman, there are security issues related to COVID fund. And I would like to state very clearly here and now that the amount of money that is actually assigned to the Ministry of Health within the COVID fund is about 15% of the amount. So as we raise issues on the 15%, it is very important for us to raise issue on the 85%. So it is being made, Mr. Chairman, through all sorts of channels to make 15% look like 100% of the funds, which is essentially not correct. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, in terms of disbursements from the Ministry of Health, and we have got a team here that is divided into various sectors that we have raised, that is going to be answered. I think it is also important to realize that at the Ministry of Health, we have got institutions, sagas, such as the KEMSA, such as the KEMRIS, such as the hospitals that are represented here by the CEOs, that are individually accountable. Mr. Chairman, when there was issues to do with, if there are issues to do with Kenya Revenue Authority, we don't go to the Treasury. We call the Kenya Revenue Authority. When there are issues with Kenya Pipeline, I don't see energy here. I see Kenya Pipeline. So I think it's important for us also to respect the institutions that exist within the Ministry of Health and to allow them also to be responsive to the areas that are subject to themselves. And therefore, Mr. Chairman, when, for example, we allow for 5 billion shillings to be sent directly to the counties, that money is counted as COVID fund. It is counted in the Ministry of Health, but as a matter of fact, it is not at the Ministry of Health, neither is it accountable directly by the Ministry of Health. When we say that Kenyatta National Hospital has been given some money and the CEO is here, and he has got his own procedures also, or KEMSA, or MOI, they are here and they can also respond to those issues. So that's the first thing, Mr. Chairman. The second thing, Mr. Chairman, I would like to say, as an overall overriding interest in the issue of the COVID funds is this. Mr. Chairman, in my assessment, there are 3 levels of intervention for the COVID fund. And it is good to be candid and honest. There are 3 levels that I see. The first level, perhaps involved in this House today, is where there is serious and honest interest in the money and how it is being spent. The oversight that we are responsible for, and we should, as an institution, respond to in every single way and in every single cent. And that is as it should be in accordance with our Constitution and the laws of this nation. Mr. Chairman, in my view, there is also a second category of persons who are very, very interested in what is happening around the Ministry of Health. These are people who have got their own individual interests. And there are people, Mr. Chairman, I think you would be burying our heads to the ground like the proverbial ostrich if we pretended that they are not there. Because they are individuals also. Individuals of their personal interest in this form. In the form that some people trade with the KEMSA and may or may not be getting the kind of deals that they are looking for. There are individuals, Mr. Chairman, whose companies directly or indirectly operate at KEMSA, and it is a fact of life, and it is a factor in Chapter 6, is against Chapter 6, and it is a fact. Number 3, Mr. Chairman, are people who want to politicize and weaponize COVID-19 funds for political purposes and to make the government look bad or purpose or persons within the government look bad. So, Mr. Chairman.
Point of order, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, can I finish?
Point of order, Chairman.
Hold on. What's out of order? Mutahi Kagwe.
Chairman, with respect to my good friend the CS, there's what we call the relevance of the response.
It shall be explained, Mr. Chairman.
I'm on my feet, Honorable CS.
CS, you are advised when a member has called for a point of order.
Yes, I'm
It
just.
has to be heard in silence.
I'm just trying to wonder the relevance of that, the speech by the CS in respect of the letter that was sent to the ministry. I mean, this is a general broad statement. Could you go to the points, the facts that were asked?
Thank you, CS, you advised. You are to give your general comment, which is okay, but if it could be brief so that we get to the points.
I appreciate, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much indeed. So I was finalizing, Mr. Chairman, to say that it is important for us, at least from the ministry, we are telling the committee what we see and the way we understand it. And to say, Mr. Chairman, that from the outset, as far as the first category is concerned, which is people who are generally interested, as the committee is, we are sure, in what is happening in the ministry, we are quite prepared and ready to respond, Mr. Chairman. And to do so, Mr. Chairman, as I said, for me, is those two overriding issues. The first one is that COVID funds are not health ministry funds. They are general government funds. Out of 153 billion that was spelled here by the Treasury, less than 15% of that, 20-something billion, is what has come to us, and out of which we can explain very, very clearly. So, Mr. Chairman, if you allow me, I would like to...
Concluding?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
In fact, Mr. Chairman, what I would like to do now is to ask my colleague to state on the question number 1, the status of disbursement to funds, to counties, to fight the pandemic. I am here with the PS, and she can explain that in detail. Thank you.
Thank you, CS.